Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beat in the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be previewing the two big matches coming up on the weekend. Liverpool taking on Arsenal and Spurs playing host to Everton. Now, joining me to review these two matches and to talk some football, we have returning to the platform, Sir Cole.
Good evening, viewers and subscribers. Always a pleasure to be here.
We also have Christophe.
Good to be back again.
Yes, indeed, gents. Big matches coming up, games coming thick and fast into the festive season. You know, compliments of the season to our viewers and subscribers. Compliments of the season, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and same to you.
Yes, indeed. But we're going to jump straight into it, Sir Cole. Liverpool taking on Arsenal, first versus second. Talk to us, Sir Cole. How do you see this one?
Well, it gets no bigger than that, First versus second. Top of the table clash. Both teams will say in good form. Expect a tight tactical battle. Expect to see some goals. I'll just see what managers can come up with to counter the other. And usually I just sit back and and enjoy this one and see how it pans out.
Yeah, definitely should be a festive atmosphere. And I mean, it comes no bigger than this. I mean, going into the Christmas period, first versus second, big game, big match, big implications. Christophe, Arsenal fan, playing away from home. I mean, memories of last season, you could say it was that game that really derailed, Arsenal's season last year. But Christophe, this is a brand new season. How do you see this game?
Yeah, last season I would say it was that Liverpool game that kind of killed the Arsenal momentum last season, because it's a game that should have been won in the first half, but due to some I don't know if it was a rash tackle by Xhaka, kind of riled up the Liverpool players, but that's just how it is, I guess. I expect it to be a tight match. Tactically, I think both managers, like Sir Cole said, will come up with some plan to try and counter the other. And it might end up being a relatively boring first half. And I think the game will probably open up more second half once both managers adjust to what they're seeing on the pitch. I think Liverpool would probably do well to attack Arsenal down that right-hand side, or yeah, that Arsenal's right-hand side, Liverpool's left. Because I think right now that is where Arsenal is weakest at the moment. And I think Arsenal would do well attacking Liverpool through the center. Because I think that's where Liverpool is weakest at the moment.
Well, I mean, down that right-hand side, we know the man, the myth, the legend, who is Mohamed Salah. I mean, that's where he plays. So
No, wrong side.
definitely, I'm sure Arteta will probably be looking to double up on that flank.
No.
Probably bring one of the midfielders across to nullify Salah, doubling up and hoping he'll play the ball after someone else. I mean, it would be foolhardy to allow the main weapon to do the damage.
No,
I mean,
I don't think that's the case, because of how Trent Alexander is inverting inside. It has currently forced Salah to play wider than normal and takes him further away from goal. So I'm not sure that there'll be any doubling up on Salah at the moment.
well, yeah, I mean, that should definitely be an intriguing matchup. And as you say, I mean, Trent, playing in that midfield role, should be an interesting prospect as well. I suspect in the last couple of games, though, I've seen where Klopp has made a sub in the midfield for a defender. So oftentimes what I'm seeing from Klopp is that he's taking off a midfielder, bringing on Gomez, and then pushing Trent directly in that midfield role. Sir Cole, do you see this as a good tactic, not only for Liverpool, but possibly for England as well?
For Liverpool, yes, but not necessarily the same for England. Two different dynamics at play. And the fact that it works for one team doesn't mean it didn't necessarily or it will work for the other. As I said, each manager will see the game differently. And while it can be used it is not a tool that necessarily we think will be employed. But maybe in manager's mind, for future reference, they can say, okay, should it be necessary? We can try this. As was pointed out by Christophe, the change has forced a change in the way that Salah plays as well. Salah also plays. And you mentioned doubling up. Is it necessary to double up? Have all teams doubled up on Salah? Not necessarily. So,
I mean, he is the key weapon, so it would be wise to nullify the key threat. And if you can nullify him, then chances are you nullify Liverpool.
Yes, do you try to nullify the player or to nullify the team?
So that might be a gamble Arteta may have to make.
Well, the reverse is also true. Remember that Arsenal have their positives as well. So Liverpool will also have to make adjustments. Who will they double up? Will they double on Saka? Is it necessary to double on Saka? We don't know. I don't know what necessarily will do. So the game itself will actually show what managers have in mind, and from there we can assess as the game goes by.
Yeah, it should be a very intriguing match. I mean, we're expecting Arsenal to stick to their usual playing style where they try to pass it out from the back. And that may very well prompt Liverpool into a more energetic high press, especially in front of their home fans, and pretty much take the game to Arsenal. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, to be honest with you. And at the same time, Arsenal may be thinking, let's just consolidate as did Manchester United and try to leave Anfield with a point. You're no worse off as when you started the game as when you finished. So that may very well be the thinking of Arteta. He may be using that Manchester United versus Liverpool game as the template or the blueprint to copy. What say you as an Arsenal fan?
No, I don't think they'll go for that. At least in the first half, they'll be trying to go for the win. I don't think before the game has even started that either manager would say, hey, let's just go for a draw. I don't think that's going to happen.
So you're saying if a draw was offered to Arsenal at this point in time, you're saying they're going to refuse that draw?
Not a draw at this time. At this moment in time, both teams want to win.
Yes, indeed. This should definitely be a mouth-watering affair. And this game, the result may have some serious implication at the top of the table. Sir Cole, do you see the winner of this game going on to lift the title?
It could have such implications. However, with only a 1 point differential at this point, I don't think it is necessarily a season decider in the grand scheme of things. Mind you, as Christophe rightly said, I don't think any manager or either of the two managers will accept a draw at this point. Both managers will be going for the win. Arteta being in front, we probably want to open up some breathing space over his nearest rival. Should in case some mishap happens down the line, they at least have a point cushion. So both managers, I think, will be going for the win and going guns blazing to achieve the win.
Yeah, this game should be an exceptionally good, high-quality game, especially for the neutral circle. So, I mean, I'll be looking forward to it for sure. But Christophe, in terms of your predicted scoreline, what can we expect? How are you seeing it going forward?
At the moment, I don't necessarily have a scoreline. I predict maybe a draw at the moment, 2-2 draw. But on the day, it might be different depending on how we see that game starting. But at the moment, I want to say a 2-2 draw.
So a high-scoring draw there, Christophe is calling. Yet he's not willing to accept a draw before, kick-off, so to speak, but predicting a draw at the end of full time. Quite an interesting perspective there. But Sir Cole, I'll come to you on this one. How do you see this one playing out, Sir Cole? And as a neutral, what kind of result are you looking at?
Personally, I am expecting a draw as well. The managers will go seeking the win, but in the end, I think we will see a stalemate. I'm calling it 1-1 on this one.
1-1. Well, for me, Sir Cole, I am backing Liverpool for this one. I mean, I'm sure they would have learned their lesson from just coming off a rather high-profile game against Manchester United. Picking up some points midweek here, or progressing, I should say, in the Carabao Cup versus West Ham. That one ending 5-1 in favor of Liverpool. So they would have taken some confidence, you could say, from that game. A number of players getting on the score sheet. And I am hoping that they'll be bringing that sort of form or that sort of goal scoring prowess into this game at Anfield in front of their home fans. So I have to back my team on this one, Sir Cole. So I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool win in this one. It would not surprise me any bit if Arsenal went ahead and took the lead, and then some incident happened during the game which really rally up and wile up the Liverpool faithful, and this, allow Liverpool back into this one, come from behind again, as has been their characteristic throughout the season, and pretty much put in 2 goals past Arsenal, finishing this one 2-1, and frog leaping Arsenal as well at the top of the league. I mean, at the end of this game week, it's possible that Arsenal could possibly be in third if Liverpool beats Arsenal and if Aston Villa continue their hot streak and pick up another 3 points. So interesting times ahead for sure.
Well, if I actually to choose a winner, I would actually go on the side of Arsenal for this one. I believe they have shown me enough, especially in terms of the fight towards the end of the games, that when it is tight, when the going gets tough, they have what it takes to pull it off. And should there be a winner, I'm going with the Arsenal 2-1 win over Liverpool.
So the reverse then, Sir Cole, you're going 2-1 away win.
2-1 away win.
If you were to pick a winner for this
pick a
one,
winner, yes.
Your official prediction, however, is
It's a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Sir Cole covering his bases there, not willing to go out on a limb, but backing himself on what you could classify for all the bettors as a win draw, away win draw there. But we move, Sir Cole. Definitely interesting times ahead, and the next big game on our agenda for this evening is really looking at Spurs versus Everton, you could say two of the hot teams in the league at this moment. Everton really on a real purple patch, if you want to call it that. And of course, Spurs having now picked up 2 wins on the bounce after 4 consecutive losses after that. You could say that very interesting game versus Chelsea. So, Christophe, I'll come to you on this one. Spurs playing at home versus a Sean Dyche Everton team. How do you see this one panning out?
I think this will be a very hard-fought win for Spurs in the end. I think Spurs have just enough. They're getting their groove back now. I mean, they still have 11 players out on injuries or suspension, but I think Spurs just has the quality to get one over the Everton team here. Not to discount Sean Dyche, he's doing very well. It's just the quality that Spurs currently have, I think, is still better, and they're back. On the back of 2 wins, I think they have it.
Yeah, definitely. Spurs really playing some free-flowing football, possession-based building from the back. So for this one, Everton being away from home, I am anticipating that Everton is going to come with park the bus, so to speak, really soaking up that pressure in a Sean Dyche low block and really trying to get one on the break or, get one from a set piece. Arkowski may rise above that Spurs defense and head one in. So it's really what I'm looking for from this Everton team. Low block versus Spurs. Spurs dominating possession and pretty much trying to break down this Everton team in a low block. But Sir Cole, you're familiar with these teams. I mean, how do you see this one panning out?
Well, if you can beat Newcastle, then I believe it is within your reach to be able to beat Spurs as well. Everton has been on a good run of late. Important thing is that they're not conceding either. while Spurs have been getting some good results, I don't see them as free flowing in attack. I think if they can get Son out of the game, then it's a very good chance of getting a result. And it will be a hard fought game, but I believe Sean Dyche probably has the acumen to pull it off in this one.
Oh, wow. Sean Dyche looking to pull this one. I mean, Spurs are playing at home, Sir Cole, in front of their home fans. And I mean, we've seen where once they, build up a head of steam, they can be devastating in terms of dragging players all over the field and really kicking apart defenses in recent times. We saw them pick apart Newcastle, Sir Cole, recently. The same Newcastle, Everton also got the better of. So it's really two teams which have really taken apart a decent enough Newcastle team and are now matched up head to head. I would have to lean towards Spurs. It's almost a case of attack versus defense. So you're saying, Sir Cole, the defense and organization of Everton is gonna stand tall versus this attack of Spurs?
Yeah, for this game, I think so. It is not the easiest of things to go 2 3 games without conceding a goal at this level. And for them to achieve that, I probably believe that, okay, if Spurs actually does score, they won't score more than once. And in going for the win, they probably leave themselves open to the counter, which can be exploited. So I'm thinking that Spurs, in trying to get that the win, will fall victim to overcommitting in terms of attacking and be pierced by that sword.
Interesting perspective there, So Cole. Definitely perspective and a view I'll definitely be looking for on the weekend. But Christophe, you seem to be more in the Spurs camp. What can Spurs do to really overcome this solid defensive unit, which is now Everton?
Well, obviously, if they're going to sit back and low block, then the easiest way to breach a low block would be to get those crosses in. At the moment, I don't know that Spurs has, the height inside the box. So your second bet would be to either overload either the wide areas or pull those players out of position and then get your passes in. But I I think the best option would be to try to get the crosses in, and if that fails, I would go with trying to overload the low block.
Yes, it will definitely be interesting as well, Sir Cole, to see how Son is employed. I do believe in the last game he was playing on the left side, where Richarlison was playing through the middle. And in that game, I believe it was the game versus Newcastle, Son ended with 2 assists and a goal. Richarlison also getting on the score sheet. And that seemed to be the way that, Ange is now playing his team, where Son is playing on the left, Richarlison playing that number 9 role, and a player like Kulusevski really cutting in on the other side. So that seems to be how the front three is lining up. Do you think Everton can keep that front three out, Sir Cole, keep the big guns quiet, and by doing so, end up winning?
Well, yes, I believe it is within their reach to do so. Mind you, they don't have necessarily the big name in terms of the Van Dijks and these players in defense. However, as a team, they have been working very hard and getting the job done. So against Spurs, I believe they are able to pull it out. I don't think teams are really intimidated by a Spurs team. It Spurs of a month and a half ago when they were on top of the league and riding high. They are now back to being Spurs, as we know. So I don't think there's a fear factor against Spurs. And why they necessarily, in the last 3 games have been getting some good results. I see Everton going in, feeling they can pull it off as well. And putting a plan in place to actually achieve a victory in this game.
Well, give us your score prediction then, Sir Cole.
Well, I don't believe it will necessarily be a low block versus the attack. I believe they will give as much as they get. So for this one, I'm calling it. I'll go again with 2-1, 2-1 to Everton.
1 to Everton. And Christophe, how do you see this one playing out?
2-1 to Spurs.
2-1 to Spurs, contrasting results there. So viewers and subscribers, I can only do one thing at this point. I'm gonna call this one down the middle. I think this will be a scoring draw, and I feel it may very well be a high scoring draw. 2-2. You know, Everton has been keeping a few clean sheets of late. I think the law of averages will now catch up on them, and Spurs have been high scoring, or has been a high scoring team. I feel home, they have 2 goals within their grasp. So for this one, I'm going to go with a scoring draw, calling this one 2-2 down the middle, and the points being shared. You know, both teams remain on an unbeaten run in the last 3 to 4 games. But Sir Cole, many more games are on. The games are now coming thicker and faster, leading into Christmas, into the new year, and we see the games being spread over multiple days as well. How do you see this week of football really playing out? Can we look for any major upsets?
Upsets are very difficult to predict. You may get a one upset on a weekend, but unlikely to get more than one. Besides, well, the two that I called before were upsets because Everton over Spurs, Arsenal over Liverpool at home. I think they are both upsets, so I think that's where the upsets will lie for this weekend. Other than that, it should be smooth sailing as we expect in the other games.
Indeed, indeed. Christophe, any other game you're looking forward to? I know, for example, tomorrow, Thursday, we see Crystal Palace taking on Brighton. I mean, any other game you're looking forward to seeing?
West Ham versus Manchester United, I think, will be an interesting match to see. 7 versus 8. The results have been somewhat similar. Manchester United suffering, 7 losses to West Ham has had 6. Both teams have had 30 goals scored against them, but West Ham has scored almost double the number of goals that Manchester United has. So I think that will be an interesting matchup to see who is the stronger team at the moment. I want to give the edge to West Ham just because of how spotty Manchester United is. But I think that would be a good match for the neutrals and for anybody who just doesn't like United.
Yeah, I do concur. I do concur. That should definitely be a rather interesting affair. You know, both teams really looking to bounce back, you could say, with a win. And I believe Moyes is now under a bit of pressure, Sir Cole. I mean, having now suffered big defeats, conceding 5 against Fulham in the league, and since today, conceding 5 against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. I mean, this isn't the sort of West Ham team that we are used to under David Moyes. We are used to a more tight-knitted defense where, not a game where multiple goals are being scored and pretty much you're looking to avoid embarrassment, so to speak. I mean, Sir Cole, speak to us about this game. United, West Ham. How do you see this one panning out?
Well, the West Ham performance this evening in particular was not very pleasing, but I differ in terms of I don't think Moyes is under a great deal of pressure, especially since that this wasn't necessarily a league game. And mind you, despite that, they are doing pretty well in Europe in the Conference League. So, interesting, yes. Man U coming off a decent result on the weekend to have gotten the draw at Liverpool, keeping Liverpool scoreless. I don't think that they will keep West Ham scoreless because Lightning will not strike twice in the same place. However, I think we'll be able to at least get something from this game as well. So a 2-1 win, I think is on the cards for Man U.
Yes, and of course, Bruno, I believe, should be back for this game. So we may see a Scott McTominay reverting back into his usual defensive midfield position and handing back the captain's armband to Bruno. Some may have been rather shocked or surprised at the inclusion of McTominay, much less the captain of Manchester United, But as you say, lightning may not strike twice. So that's definitely an intriguing game to look forward to. Also looking forward to seeing how Aston Villa, Sir Cole, continue to progress. We saw in the last game where they got all 3 points from Brentford team. So that's another game I'm looking forward to seeing if Aston Villa can really continue their run and seeing how the Jamaican Leon Bailey continues to contribute towards a team, picking up goals and assists. How do you see that one panning out, Sir Cole?
Bailey has been in good form lately. I've been seeing some stats where his performances are really causing some eyebrows to raise in terms of his showings offensively. His skills will necessarily be of value this game, especially Sheffield to as you said, come out with the low block, try to hit on the counter. So you need some dribblers who can open spaces, and Bailey is just the type of person to do that in this game. So I expect Bailey to have a good game and to combine well with Watkins to get the desired results offensively.
Yes, and of course, Sheffield should have what we usually classify as that new coach bounce. They are one of the latest teams to replace their manager, the other being Nottingham Forest. Their manager has been sacked, and we have a new manager entering into the fray. Nuno Espirito Sanchez, I believe, former Wolves coach and also former Spurs coach as well. So that should be another intriguing game. But going back to the Aston Villa fixture, they play against Sheffield at home of Aston Villa, of course. And their record at home has been formidable. So it would be rather shocking if they did not leave this game with all 3 points and continue the pressure, the top end of the league. Christophe, do you see this one? Do you smell any upset in this game? Or it's just business as usual for Aston Villa?
No, I'm not expecting any upsets. I mean, Sheffield, yes, new manager, but it will be his first game in charge, really. This will be a good chance. I don't know if Aston Villa would risk it, but to give your second string players a run out to see how good the team is exactly. It would be. Not sure if Aston Villa will risk it, but I'm not expecting anything too troubling from Sheffield, given the way that Aston Villa has been played.
Indeed. It should be another,
Should be a
what should I say?
easy win.
Yeah, it should be another easy, another routine win for Aston Villa, I would suspect, but of course, we know that these teams, once a new manager is in place, then they usually give you an extra effort, and 10 times that extra effort is seen in some positive results. So while we do expect a routine win, it would not necessarily surprise me, Sir Cole, if indeed Sheffield came away with something from this game. It would not be a complete shock to me because, as I said, I'm looking at Sheffield, even though they're bottom of the league, even though they've conceded the most goals in the league as well. It's just, I don't know how to describe it, but once a team gets a new manager, even with the same set of players, is all of a sudden some sort of positivity runs through the squad and there's a boost in results. So it would not surprise me if indeed Sheffield does come away with something. But I do expect Aston Villa really to get 3 points here.
What may happen as well is that Aston Villa may actually do a bit of rotation because really actually they haven't really done much rotation. The only rotation I can see is between Daly and Diaby. The others are pretty much standard. And with the fixtures coming up, they may want to rest a player or two against a team bottom in the league. So that's a factor which could play a part as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Money management is now the order of the day, especially with maybe teams getting 2 or 3 day rest between fixtures. I would suspect that some bit of rotation circle, not only for Aston Villa, but throughout the league in general, will be taking place. You know, some teams have maybe a 3 day break, some may have a 2, some may have a 4. It varies from one team or from one match to the next. But we oftentimes say this circle, but if memory serves me correctly, not a lot of teams really rotate wholesalely, to be honest with you. You may see a player coming off a bit early, but I would say, even though we expect the rotation, oftentimes it doesn't come unless a player is really out injured. The manager still goes to his best 11 and may just sub a player early if that is
Well,
the case.
well, the advent of COVID has changed the game somewhat in that we now have 5 subs. So the manager can now use that with advantage and take off players a bit earlier rather than depend on 3 subs as we had before. So that's a factor that we need to take into account.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, a number of managers were lobbying for this 5 sub rule to remain in place. And it has. But again, you may watch a game, you may watch a Man City game, for example, and it's oftentimes characteristic of Pep not to make a sub all during the game. So sometimes these managers cry that, hey, players are getting fatigued, players are getting injured. You now have 5 subs, but you still fail to utilize these subs. So, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, so to speak. So I personally don't expect much rotation in terms of the starting 11 circle from these coaches. What I would expect is that there may be some early changes depending on how the game may be progressing. So a team is up 3 goals, you're going to see the key players coming off and giving, the peripheral players a run out. Or if you need some sort of result, you may see a few more changes taking place, to freshen up the team. But in terms of wholesale changes in the 11, I really don't see it happening. I think that is just a myth entering into this busy Christmas period. How do you see that, Christophe? I mean, Arsenal looking to make any real wholesale rotations?
You're not going to make any rotations against Liverpool. You're going to play your best 11 or whatever the tactic that you're going to employ is the best players for that. Aston Villa, this is an opportunity for Aston Villa to rotate some players and rest some of your key players that you're going to have. Um, Rotation, not all the clubs in England can rotate. The smaller teams can't really rotate. If they drop points, you know, they don't have necessarily the same quality on the bench as say Man City, who probably have 2 starting 11s, right? Versus Arsenal has a little more squad depth now, but they don't have as much, so they don't have a lot of rotation options, especially with the injury list that they have. Um, it's kind of similar for Liverpool at the moment. Tottenham has 11 players out, either injured or suspended. So the team that can rotate players at the moment is Man City, is playing the Club World Cup. So there will be minor tweaks here and there for some clubs, but there won't be any big rotations going on.
Yeah, that's my read on the situation as well. I think the mainstream media tend to blow these things out of proportion, but year in, year out, easy fixture list, yes, but minor changes circle. That's what I've seen over the years. Busy fixture lists, teams playing maybe during this between Christmas, Boxing Day, New Year's Day, maybe 3 or 4 games within a short period of time. Maybe teams get like 3 days in between games. But as I said, over the years, I have not seen much major or wholesale changes to starting 11. 2 players, 3 players, I think that's the most you may see in the starting 11, and those players may still even be on the bench only to be subbed down. But any quick final words, gents, before we wrap things up?
We're just looking forward to another great weekend of football. Looking forward to that 1v2 clash. You need have Liverpool, Arsenal, and you know, seatbelt on, ready to enjoy the weekend again.
All right, Christoph, any final thoughts on the weekend's action?
Similar to Sir Cole, I would say I look forward to watching Arsenal versus Liverpool. Not just because, we'll see who is going to end up top of the table, or if it's a draw, then we know we maintain the status quo at the moment, but to see how title contenders are going to play and face off against each other. Will it just be, the tactical battle, or will somebody go for the jugular and just try to get the win out of the game? Also, I always look forward to seeing United struggle week in, week out. So I'm looking forward to that.
Ah, well, interesting thoughts there, Christoph. Interesting thoughts there. I'm sure many of our viewers and subscribers may share similar sentiments, on both games. But definitely, it should be an intriguing game. Liverpool versus Arsenal. I think Klopp will definitely go for the jugular. He's the type of manager that will be going for the 3 points, especially at home, and we'll just see if Arsenal can handle the might of a Liverpool team playing in front of the cup. But there you have it, viewers and subscribers. Thank you again for tuning in to us here on Beating the Press podcast. My thanks goes out to Sir Cole and Christophe for coming on board again to share their thoughts, their views, and their opinions. Viewers and subscribers, if you haven't subscribed as yet, remember to hit that subscription bell. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.